This review covers the 1955 Chevrolet Nomad. It's a 125 scale kit from AMT, number 1287. Available in stores and online, this 3-in-1 Trophy Series kit was originally released in 1965 and has been reissued many times since. It can be built stock, drag, race, or custom, and that allows you to finish the kit to your liking by combining the build options. It's got black vinyl tires and detailed water slide decals, and it's a 3-in-1 fully customizable model, stock customer drag with a pickup truck option. Now, popular in the 60s during the winter in northern states, there were no drag races, but there were car shows, so for this build, I combined the drag race and custom parts to build a show and go car. Follow along as we discuss the issues that we find in this kit, as you can see in this list, but there's also more opportunities than issues. In fact, we'll tell you about, the rationale for combining different kit styles, and how to modify the kit's racing names, and cautionary notes on the pickup conversion. There's over 170 parts in this kit, molded in white, chrome, clear, and clear red. And there's a huge set of decals included with body emblems and dash decals, and a lot of drag racing version decals, as well as some excellent pad printed vinyl racing slicks. And when you're done, the kit measures about 7.5 inches long, 2 3/4 inches wide, and 2.5 inches high. Here are the contents of the kit, and it has quite a bit of flash. It's light flash that has to be removed. It's easy to do with a hobby knife and some sand sticks. It's not a real problem. But you see the awesome parts count here, along with the 2 sets of windows, one in a clear red. To build the drag version of this kit, you'll have to modify the exhaust. As you can see here, outlined with red stripes, it has to be removed because it's just a single exhaust pipe and muffler. So the best way to do this is to just grind it off flush with the base of the model as best as you can, and smooth it out with some sand sticks, and then later on you'll paint over that with some flat black. You'll also need to remove a section from the hood. Fortunately, it's scored on the underside, so cut through that with the backside of a hobby blade or a jeweler's saw and remove that for access of the fuel injector stacks. Now you can prep the body, and there's some minor mold lines. You see the red line on the front fascia there. It's also in the back, and there's some lighter ones along the upper ridges of the fenders, etc. So you'll have to scrape those off with a putty knife, or I should say a hobby knife, and then sand them smooth to get them nice and evened out for paint. Now there's also a molded in emblem there, which should be removed if you're going to use the decals, because they don't settle over high relief that well. I removed the emblems, and I didn't use the decals later. However, I wanted a custom look for my racer, as this is going to be a show and go car. Now, the rear wheels will need to be opened up for the drag slicks. There's no mention of it there, but that'll have to be done. To provide clearance for the drag slicks, you'll need to cut out the rear wheel wells. Now, fortunately, even though the instructions don't mention it, there's markings on the inside of the body that you can use to guide and remove those areas with files and sand sticks, and even a hobby knife to get started if you need to. Now, also, you'll need to remove those shipping braces after you're done manipulating the body for all of this heavy modification. Speaking of modifications, the custom build version in this kit also includes a section that converts the car into a pickup truck with an optional cab to go on the top of it. And it requires cutting the stock roof off, and would need to have you put the custom roof into place and fit that on. And this, of course, would be for a more advanced builder. So to build the drag version of the engine, I've got that nice chrome deep sump oil pump, and I'm going to leave all the bling there because it's also a show car. You can see those large chrome injector stacks up at the top. I painted the manifold aluminum, and as well as the transmission is a steel color, and it comes with some headers, but those will be added on later when we get the engine into the frame. Now the wheel assemblies are one of the highlights of this newest boxing, and the parts for the drag version are shown here. And the slicks are hollow, and so the two-piece wheels should be glued together first. And remember, you got to scrape chrome off of parts you want to join together. And when they're, you push those into the tires after the glue dries on them. And the front tires need the wheel fronts and backs pushed into the tires and glued. Now the tires in this kit are pad printed with wide white walls on the stock set and narrows on the other for the custom version. So there's a good sidewall and tread detail, and on my build I blacked out the white walls for the drag cars that will be used in the front, because drag cars never used white walls. Now the rear slicks for the drag race version are some beautiful pad printed Goodyear Blue Streak tires. Now go ahead and assemble these parts. Some of them are painted a gloss black, along with the satin black chassis and the gloss black frame parts. So go ahead and assemble these to put this assembly together. And the instructions are calling for the wheels and tires to be put on at this point, but we're going to wait until the chassis is in place, as the front wheels mount on some plastic stubs on the front axle, and they could get broken off easily through handling. Now also note that the molded in exhaust is now, of course, not there, and you can't even tell if you clean it up pretty nicely. You'll also be putting some more pipes on top of that, so you won't even know they're gone. The chrome plated suspension goes together easily in place, so just follow the instructions and you can see how it appears here. Also note that the headers were stripped of their chrome and painted with the high temp white that was pretty common for those back in the day. And we're going to mount the engine, prior to putting those in place, and use some good strong glue and make sure that the motor is sitting straight up and down in the frame. So gather up the parts for the interior here, which is painted a medium tan and has a black floor, flat black floor. Also notice the station wagon panels in the back there. Now I used the bucket seats and the optional seat belts, which can be detailed. And speaking of that, you can detail the dash nicely, although it does also have some decals for the gauge set, etc. And of course the wheel has a metallic center and a flat black wheel. But it's pretty nicely detailed for a Nomad, so go ahead and have at it with your chrome pen and some black paint too. And now it's time to work on the body. We had cleaned up the parting lines and things like that, any blemishes before, so give it a light coat of primer, and then I used a paint by one shot for my color coat. And once that is dry, you can add the detailing for chrome pieces with a chrome pen or a Sharpie if you prefer, and get those to stand out. And so then the decals were added, except for those nice looking names that I put on the side here. Old Yeller comes from hand painting. So a lot of those stock and drag cars were enabled with that kind of decor. So if you want to, go ahead and have at it. You can't hardly do wrong. They hand painted them back in the day too, so go ahead and give it whatever name you want if you don't want to use the decals from the kit. Now, as you can see too, the emblems and sponsor kit items were supplied. And next we'll add the core support and the insert for the firewall that were painted flat black along with the engine bay. But the instructions show that the insert is glued in from the front, but it actually should be glued in from the rear for engine clearance. And now we'll work on the glass, and the kit has optional red or clear glass, so I used the red for the back glass, which would have been normally replaced in a real car with some plexiglass for looks and it's lighter weight. Now the windshield would have been left stock, so it's clear, so I used the clear windshield. So I combined those issues. Now the instructions show to use the clear stock included in the kit and cut the shape for the vent windows. However, I thought it would look better and more consistent to use red for all the side and rear windows. So I cut some of the plastic off that held the front and rear glass together, and it had some molding letters on it. So I scraped those off and sanded them and polished them smooth, and I made some vent windows out of it to match the rest of the car. And you can see also the drag designation decals have been added to the red side window panels. And now we can detail the upper and lower tailgates. And the upper's no problem, but the lower could be a problem because the hinges are pretty flimsy on the lower one. And you can detail that tailgate also with some nice chrome pen added and some painted on stripes like I did. Overall, this kit is fairly easy to build, but the tailgate has potential problems. There's one major issue with the kit. To build an accurate model, the bumper guards should be used as they were on most of the Nomads back in '55. And the tailgate won't be functional because the guards will prevent it from operating properly. So the tailgate can be glued in place without bothering with the potential troublesome lower hinges. Now, to use the rear bumper along with the functional tailgate, just leave the bumper guards off for clearance, but that's not an accurate version of the '55 Nomad. Now the parts for the upper and lower tailgates aren't any real problem, and the lower one could be, as they're kind of a problem with those hinges. However, if you're using the bumper guards, the tailgate can't be lowered anyway, so I glued the tailgate in place just to save the trouble. Now it's time to use some white or clear glue to glue the windows into place in the interior, and then glue the interior into place after they've dried with some good strong glue on the edges. Now also we're going to add the entire upper unit to the chassis by locating any gluing points and using some strong epoxy or super glue to put those into place. Just spread the sides out a little bit and drop that body right on into position, and here it is assembled as a unit. With the body in place, we'll revisit that rear bumper along with the bumper guards and taillights. And I used the custom taillights for my build, and oddly enough, the '55 Chevys had 3-piece bumpers, which would hide the seams between the sections, except for California, which had a different idea about how a bumper should be designed. Now it's time to gather up the grille, the headlights, and the hood, and you can see those have all been finished off. And the instructions for the drag race version show it to leave the grille out and use the moon tank, the fuel tank in the opening, but I like the looks of the grille better for the '55, and it is a show and go, so I used that instead, and I also used the custom headlights just to be a little different, and I waited until final completion to add the hood into place. And here's a closer look at the finished engine bay with the engine in place, and it also shows that now you can add the upper radiator hose into position. And here's a look at that front end with the final pieces into position, and she's looking pretty sharp. Wow, here's what you'll have left over. Lots of decals, plenty of extra glass, a custom cab for the pickup, seating and suspension parts, along with a pair of narrow, wide white wall wheels. So there'll be plenty of parts for your parts stash when you get done with this kit. Well, drop the hood into place, and there you have it. Your model is finished. And it's just as much a head turner today on your shelf as it was during the day on the drag strip. And as you can see, it's got quite a bit of appeal. The nice yellow color that we show here, really sets it off, along with those red stripes and the hand-painted lettering. And you can do the same thing, and just have to know that the drag version or the custom version and even the pickup truck version are available in this kit, but they're going to take a little bit extra work. And of course, the more advanced versions will require more advanced skills. So keep this in mind, and if I were you, I would buy one and put it on my shelf.
Thanks for joining us at Right On Replicas, where we're proud to bring you the best scale model kit reviews on the planet.
This review is brought to you in part by Ryder's Hobby Shops, where the fun begins. Stop in to one of Ryder's 2 convenient Michigan locations where you'll find a full range of the latest hobby products, supplies, parts, tools, and paint. You'll find aisles and aisles of scale model kits, RC models, model rockets, Warhammer gaming, and railroading products. Stop in at Ryder's today and tell them Doug sent you.